The price of cashew in Nigeria, the sixth largest producer in the world, has fallen by 60% in the past 12 months to its lowest in 3 years. Price has dropped from an average of 500,000 naira per ton in 2018 season to 200,000 naira per metric ton in 2019 cashew season, its lowest since 2016. Now let's look at the trend in this commodity with Ayisat Dahood, one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company. Hello, Ayisat. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Chumeze.
Well, we've seen the price of cashew in Nigeria decline by as much as 75% since 2018. What would you say is responsible for this decline?
So outrightly, the price decline has been steep as a result of the quality at which this cashew nut is sold. So this is a major factor that has lowered the demand for Nigerian cashew nut because cashew nut is still playing very well outside in the international market.
Now, is there a link between this and the increase in global supply?
So global supply for cashew nut as was recorded to be 3.97 metric ton by Food and Agriculture Organization. So then there was a slight decline in price in the global markets by 10% from $2,000 per ton to $1,800 per ton. So this is as a result of market reaction. So we can't actually say that this impacted Nigerian steep decline, though we can say there's some of this, and coupled with the fact that the quality at which our Nigerian cashew nut were sold, that was what resulted to Nigerian steep decline in cashew nut.
Now, we know that cashew is one of Nigeria's leading non-oil exports, and that's after cocoa. Yeah, it contributes to export earnings at approximately $95 million. Now, this is a far cry from cocoa, which brings in approximately $500 million. What can be done to actually boost this commodity?
Actually, cashew nut can have the potential to earn us more foreign exchange than cocoa is currently doing, like you mentioned. So first of all, to get the best of agricultural produce, there are some certain things we need to put in place, starting from how we select the seedlings. You know, you want to do commercial basis. There are different types of seedlings. The quality of the seedlings, the land, the fertilizers, how you cultivate it, how you handle it, how you transport it, the handling process from harvest period to domestic market to export market. So all these factors, farmers and people that invest in cashew business need to put them into consideration and compare them so that we can have high-grade quality cashew to sell in the domestic and export markets. That's the way to boost it.
So how can Nigerian producers kind of position themselves for forward integration into the value chain of this product?
First of all, there's a huge difference between processed commodity and a raw commodity. On any value chain, a raw commodity can never be sold at the same price as a processed commodity because it already had value to it. So it's time for Nigerian producers to step back. Let us think and be innovative. Look for ways to, we're not just aiming for immediate profits just to produce it and sell it at raw stage. Let's think of how we can be innovative. Make something out of cashew nut. We can make peanut butter, we can make drinks, we can make cake, we can make cereals, a lot of things from this. Let's add value to it. Let's think and be creative in order to sell it out. By the time we add value to it, you can sell it at ×3, ×4% of what we sell the raw cashew nut for.
And perhaps some government incentives coming too. All right, Ayisat, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Ayisat Dahood is one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company. Well, South African Airways has received 3.5 billion rand of emergency funding from the government-owned Development Bank of Southern Africa. SAA is fighting for its survival after it entered a form of bankruptcy protection in December and cancelled some flights because of cash shortages. SAA has not made a profit since 2011, surviving instead on more than 20 billion rand in bailouts over the last 3 years. That has put the country's credit rating and investor confidence under increased pressure. The new year saw SAA anxiously awaiting 2 billion rand of emergency cash promised to it by government when the airline entered bankruptcy protection. But Finance Minister Tito Mboweni is told, insisting the bailout be done in a way that avoids increasing the country's budget deficit. And yesterday was the final day of talks to resolve the dispute between Ethiopia and Egypt on the fate of Africa's largest hydropower project, yet no resolution seems to have been reached. Foreign and water ministers from the two countries and Sudan have been meeting in Washington for the last 2 days to hammer out a final deal on how the dam will operate. A draft agreement on January 15, brokered by the U.S. Treasury Department and the World Bank, noted that the dam on the River Nile should be filled in stages during the rainy season. Ethiopia considers the project as critical to its energy needs and wants the dam to be filled and be operational as soon as possible. But Egypt, which relies on the Nile for 90% of its water needs, has serious concerns that its supplies will be compromised should the dam be filled too fast. And Moroccan banks will offer loans for small and medium-sized enterprises and young entrepreneurs at interest rates of not more than 2% in urban areas and 1.75% in rural regions after King Mohammed VI called for easier access to funding. In October, the king called on banks to contribute to development efforts in Morocco, and news of the new rates came in a joint statement by the Finance Ministry, the Central Bank, and the GPBM Banking Industry Group. On Central Bank Governor Abdulatif Johari said earlier that bank loans for SMEs and young entrepreneurs will be refinanced at a preferential rate of 1.25% as part of the same plan, which was developed by the government. The preferential rate is 100 points lower than the central bank's benchmark interest rate, which has been 2.25% since 2016. Under the same plan, the government and commercial banks set up a 3-year fund worth 6 billion dirhams to boost the funding of SMEs and young entrepreneurs and to help curb the informal economy by encouraging access to banking services. And a consortium of 3 companies has been awarded a contract for a $176 million project to build Egypt's first dry port, the first of 8 ports the government plans to set up. The companies are Egypt's El Swedi Electric, 3A International, and Germany's DB Schechner Egypt. Construction work for the 420,000 square meters port west of Cairo will start on Saturday and last 2 years. The port will be able to handle 720,000 containers annually and support 3,500 direct and indirect jobs. Egypt said last year the project will be a public-private partnership between the General Authority for Ports and Dryland and the winning consortium. And that's a wrap on the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimeze Obi Uwagu.